There are silences that are too loud. The kind that buzz in your ears, make your skin prickle, make your heart hammer for answers that never come. Emma Sullivan stood beneath the floral arch with a bouquet trembling in her hands, staring down the aisle that stretched before her like a cruel joke. 200 pairs of eyes were on her, some confused, some pitying, others already whispering behind raised hands. The string quartet had stopped playing. The sunlight filtering through the tall cathedral windows felt too sharp, too invasive. And Jessica wasn't coming. It had been 37 minutes. 37 agonizing minutes since the ceremony was supposed to start. 37 minutes of the wedding planner pacing like a trapped animal, of Emma's mother clutching her pearls, of murmurs rippling through the crowd like cracks through glass. Emma hadn't moved. She kept waiting for the doors to swing open, for Jessica to appear in a blur of apologies and maybe even laughter, some ridiculous excuse that would explain everything and let them go back to the dream they'd been building together for 5 years. But it didn't happen. And then the planner returned, pale as death, holding an envelope in shaking hands. It's from Jessica, she whispered. Emma took the letter with numb fingers. Opened it. Read it. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I thought I could, but I'm not ready. Please understand. It's better this way. I'm leaving tonight. I hope someday you'll forgive me. That was all. No name. No explanation. Just cowardice dressed up as closure. The silence broke in a wave of gasps and murmurs and chairs scraping the marble as people began to stand, unsure of what to do. Emma didn't cry. Not then. She simply turned, walked out of the cathedral with the letter still clutched in her hand, her veil trailing behind her like a ghost. The photographer followed her out, snapping pictures as if the heartbreak belonged to him. Her mother called after her. A groomsman tried to stop her. She ignored them all. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments, on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. It wasn't until she reached the car, the sleek black one Jessica had rented for their grand exit, that the tears came. Not quiet ones. Violent, gut-wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. The driver didn't say a word, just watched her through the rear-view mirror like a tragedy in motion. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat in the honeymoon suite, untouched, pristine, mocking, in the dress she hadn't been able to unzip, surrounded by champagne bottles no one had opened. The letter sat on the floor. Useless now. The tabloids moved fast. By morning, articles were already circulating. Heiress Jessica Morgan leaves fiancé at the altar. Scandal at Chicago's wedding of the year. Photos of Emma alone at the altar. Close-ups of the tear-stained letter. And then came the bombshell. Jessica had flown to Europe with Margot Lefebvre, a French model she'd met 3 months ago. Margot had posted a photo of the two of them in Paris, caption La vie est trop courte pour les compromis. Life is too short for compromise. Emma stared at the screen and felt something in her snap. Not her heart, that had already shattered. No, this was something deeper. Colder. A fire rising from the ashes. A need to reclaim something Jessica had stolen. Not just her dignity. Her future. Her sense of self. She could have gone to therapy. Could have taken time off. Could have let herself disappear. But instead, she made an appointment. With Victoria Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Development. Ruthless. Elegant. Richer than God. And Jessica's most hated rival. Emma had never met her, but she'd heard the stories. The way Victoria had crushed her competition in boardrooms. How she never smiled in photos. How she'd once turned down an award just because it had Jessica Morgan's name attached to it. When Emma walked into the Blackwood Tower, she wore all black and no ring. The receptionist looked up, surprised. "Do you have an appointment?" "Not yet," Emma said calmly. "But tell Ms. Blackwood that the woman Jessica Morgan abandoned at the altar wants to make her an offer." 10 minutes later, she was in a glass elevator soaring toward the top floor. Her hands shook. Her pulse raced. But she didn't back down. When the doors opened, She stepped into an office made of stone and steel and silence. And there she was. Victoria Blackwood, 32. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, a glass of bourbon in one hand, a look of pure curiosity on her face. "You're either brave," she said, without standing, "or absolutely unhinged." "Maybe both," Emma replied. Victoria gestured to the seat across from her. "Then let's hear it." Emma sat, crossed her legs, and met her gaze without flinching. "I want to marry you." A flicker of something passed through Victoria's eyes, amusement, intrigue, maybe even respect. "You want what?" "A marriage of convenience," Emma said. "You get access to Morgan-locked contracts. I get the last word. Jessica will choke on the headlines. You win. I win." Victoria leaned back, studying her. "And what makes you think I'd agree to that?" "Because you hate her," Emma said. "And you love to win." Silence stretched between them. Then Victoria smiled, slow, deliberate, dangerous. "You're more interesting than I thought." "Is that a yes?" Emma asked. "It's a maybe," Victoria replied. "But let's get one thing clear. If we do this, I won't pretend to love you. I won't coddle you. I don't play games unless I know the rules." Emma nodded. "I don't want love. I want revenge." "Then you've come to the right woman." They shook hands. And just like that, the contract began. A ring was ordered. A date was chosen. And the city began to whisper again. But this time, Emma wasn't the woman who got left behind. She was the woman who walked into fire and came out wearing diamonds. The engagement was announced 1 week later. Emma Sullivan, once heartbroken, now fiancée to the most powerful woman in the city. Jessica's reaction came swiftly, a text unread. Then a voicemail begging to talk. Emma deleted both. She had a wedding to plan, with the one woman her ex could never beat. The diamond ring Victoria had chosen was obscene. Not in size, though it was large enough to demand attention, but in the message it sent. Cold, flawless, unapologetically expensive. The kind of ring that said, "Touch her, and you answer to me." Emma stared at it as Victoria slid it onto her finger during their first public appearance as an engaged couple, a charity gala hosted by the Chicago Women's Power Network. The same one she had once planned to attend with Jessica. Now, here she was, standing next to a woman who barely looked at her, yet held her arm with the confidence of possession. The photographers swarmed as soon as they walked in. Flashbulbs popped. Questions flew. "Emma, over here. Is it true? Ms. Blackwood, when's the wedding? How long have you two been together?" Victoria didn't smile. She didn't answer. She simply placed her hand on the small of Emma's back, leaned in, and said, low enough for only her to hear, "You're doing great. Just breathe." The warmth of her palm lingered even after she stepped forward to address the press. "We appreciate your interest," Victoria said coolly. "Details will come when we're ready." It was the perfect deflection, enough to feed the headlines, not enough to expose a single truth. Emma watched her work the room with silent awe. Victoria wasn't charming. She was commanding. Where Jessica had always chased approval, Victoria controlled the narrative. And Emma, who had once felt invisible in Jessica's shadow, now stood beside someone who made the world pay attention. Throughout the night, Emma played her part. She smiled, nodded, laughed at the right times. She touched Victoria's arm during conversations, leaned in during private moments. But every gesture felt like a performance, because it was. Still, there were flickers. Small cracks in the act that didn't feel like acting at all. Like the way Victoria's eyes lingered too long when Emma laughed. Or the moment in the powder room when Emma caught her staring at the exposed line of her back in the mirror and looked away too late. Later that night, as the driver pulled up to Victoria's penthouse, neither of them spoke. Emma toyed with the ring on her finger, the diamonds catching the light like sharp little secrets. "You don't have to stay," Victoria said once they stepped into the apartment. "Not tonight. We agreed this wouldn't be personal." Emma set her clutch on the marble counter, eyes scanning the immaculate space. Everything was glass, metal, control. "So what is it then?" "A transaction." "It's a strategy," Victoria replied. You came to me with a plan. I'm helping you execute it. Right, Emma said, voice tight. And if I feel something? Victoria's eyes met hers. Then you need to remember what this is. Emma stepped closer, stopping just short of touching her. I remember exactly what this is. That doesn't mean it's not something else, too. Victoria's jaw tensed. She turned away. Don't confuse gratitude for attraction. I'm not confused, Emma said. I know what I'm feeling. The question is, do you? Silence. Then, finally, Victoria turned. You were left at the altar 3 weeks ago. I didn't die, Emma snapped. I didn't lose the ability to want. Or to be wanted. Is that what this is about? Victoria asked. Proving someone still wants you? No, Emma said. It's about not pretending anymore. They stood there, tension coiling between them like a wire ready to snap. Then suddenly Victoria moved. One step, then another, until she was close enough for Emma to feel her breath. You want honesty? She murmured.
Fine.
You're beautiful. You're bold. You walk into my office with a proposal that would have made most people laugh and somehow made me say yes. You don't scare easy. You don't beg. And that is rare. Emma's breath caught. So, what now? Now, Victoria said, voice low, you sleep in the guest room. Because I promised you power, not confusion. And just like that, she stepped away. Left Emma standing there, pulse racing, heart pounding, mouth dry. That night, Emma lay in a bed too soft, in a room too quiet, wondering what exactly she'd gotten herself into. The next morning, the tabloids exploded. Photos of the gala. Close-ups of the ring. Headlines like Power Couple of the Year. Emma Sullivan and Victoria Blackwood stun Chicago society. Emma sipped her coffee slowly, scrolling through the coverage, wondering what Jessica was thinking as she read every line. She didn't have to wait long. That afternoon, she received a message. We need to talk. Please. I made a mistake. Emma stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over the delete button. Then she typed one word. Too late. That night, Victoria returned from a board meeting and found Emma cooking in the kitchen. In her space. In her shirt. You know you don't have to do that, Victoria said, loosening her tie. I know, Emma replied. But I wanted to. Victoria leaned against the counter, watching her. You're adjusting faster than I expected. Maybe I like power, Emma said with a smirk. Or maybe I like reminding the city that I'm not the girl who got dumped. I'm the woman who upgraded. Victoria's lips twitched, almost a smile. Careful. If you keep talking like that, I might forget this is all pretend. Emma looked at her, fire dancing behind her eyes. Who said I'm pretending? And there it was again, the spark. The tension that neither of them was ready to name, but both of them felt like gravity. They ate in silence side by side. The wine flowed. The air thickened. And when Victoria reached for Emma's hand, not as part of the plan, not for the cameras, but just because, Emma let her. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. This was no longer about revenge. It was about power, about chemistry, about control shifting in delicious, dangerous ways. And the next move? Neither of them knew who would make it, but they both knew it was coming. The first time Victoria kissed her, it wasn't part of the plan. They were at a black tie fundraiser hosted by the mayor's office, surrounded by politicians, CEOs, and old money socialites who clung to champagne glasses like lifelines. Emma was dressed in deep emerald satin, her hair swept into a chignon that revealed the sharp curve of her jaw. Victoria, in all black as usual, had barely looked at her since they stepped out of the car, but Emma could feel the awareness between them like electricity crackling under skin. They had become the most talked about couple in the city. Not just because of the scandal or the business implications, but because somehow they looked real. Too real. And that terrified both of them. The whispers followed them as they moved through the ballroom. Emma heard them. Isn't that the girl who got dumped? I heard she seduced Victoria for revenge. Honestly, I think Victoria might actually be into her. That last one stuck. Emma had started to notice it too. The way Victoria's eyes lingered just a second too long. The way her fingers brushed Emma's lower back in public, steady, possessive. The way her voice softened when no one else was around. During dinner, a senator's wife leaned across the table and asked a little too loudly, "So, how did you two fall in love?" Victoria didn't blink. "Effortlessly," she said, reaching for Emma's hand. "She walked into my office and ruined everything I thought I wanted." Emma didn't flinch. She tightened her fingers around Victoria's and smiled like she believed every word. But the truth was, part of her did. After dinner, they escaped to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. Emma pulled off her heels, rubbing her sore feet, the buzz of champagne soft in her veins. Victoria leaned against the railing, arms crossed, watching her. "You handled yourself well tonight," she said. "You're getting good at this." "You mean pretending we're in love?" Emma asked. "Pretending you don't want to kiss me?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. Victoria's gaze sharpened. "Careful," she said, her voice low. "I'm not sure you know what you're playing with." "I'm not playing," Emma replied, stepping closer. "You keep acting like this is all calculated, that there's a line we're not supposed to cross. But you and I both know that line disappeared the moment you started looking at me like this." Victoria said nothing, but her breathing shifted. Her posture changed. The mask slipped, just for a moment. Emma reached out, touching the lapel of her suit. "So, what's stopping you?" "You," Victoria said. "You still think this is about Jessica. About revenge. And I'm not interested in being someone's rebound." Emma's fingers tightened on the fabric. "I came to you because of her. But I stayed because of you." The silence between them deepened. Then, slowly, deliberately, Victoria closed the distance. She didn't ask permission. She didn't give warning. Her hand cupped Emma's cheek, and her mouth claimed hers in a kiss that was nothing like what Emma expected. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, restrained, furious. The kiss of someone who had been trying not to want for far too long. Emma kissed her back with equal fire, hands tangling in Victoria's hair, body arching into hers. When they finally pulled apart, both of them breathless, Victoria whispered, "We can't do this." "Then stop me," Emma said. But Victoria didn't. Instead, she pulled her close again and pressed her forehead to Emma's. This was never part of the deal. "Maybe the deal needs to change," Emma whispered. The next morning, everything was different. And exactly the same. They didn't speak about the kiss. They moved through breakfast like nothing had happened, but the air between them was thicker now, heavier, charged with unspoken tension. Emma found herself watching Victoria more closely. The way she tapped her pen during meetings. The way her gaze lingered when she thought Emma wasn't looking. That night, Emma found a garment bag hanging on her closet door. Inside was a navy blue gown, sleek and backless, with a handwritten note tucked into the neckline. Dinner at the Lyric. 8 p.m. No cameras. No lies. Emma smiled. When she stepped into the restaurant that night, every head turned. Victoria was already there, waiting, a glass of red wine in front of her. She stood when Emma arrived, eyes dark with something unreadable. "You look," she trailed off. "Say it," Emma challenged. "Dangerous." "Good," Emma said, sitting. "That's how I feel." The dinner wasn't business. It wasn't press. It was just them. And for the first time, Emma saw Victoria relax. She told a story about her childhood, about getting kicked out of her parents' country club when she came out. Emma shared how she used to cry in secret when Jessica forgot their anniversaries. They laughed. They listened. And when dessert came, Victoria reached across the table and took Emma's hand. No act. No audience. Just connection. "I don't know what we're doing," she admitted. "I don't either," Emma said. "But I don't want to stop." "Neither do I." That night, they didn't sleep in separate rooms. They undressed slowly, reverently, as if mapping every scar, every story. They didn't ask questions. They didn't make promises. But they held each other like truth. And in the quiet just before dawn, Victoria whispered, "I haven't let anyone in for years." Emma kissed her shoulder. "Then you were overdue." The next day, The world remained unchanged. The headlines continued. The business deals advanced. But behind closed doors, Emma and Victoria had crossed a line they couldn't uncross. And neither of them wanted to. Not anymore. Emma didn't sleep much the next night. Not because of nerves. Not because of doubt. But because every time she closed her eyes, she could still feel Victoria's hands on her skin, the slow burn of lips against her throat, the way their bodies had moved in sync, as if the act wasn't new but remembered. She woke tangled in sheets that smelled like musk and heat and something unnameable between them, a weight in her chest that wasn't fear, but something far more dangerous. Hope. Victoria was already gone. A note on the pillow in her sharp, no-nonsense handwriting. Early meeting. Coffee's in the kitchen. Emma ran her fingers over the ink, smiled, and whispered into the empty room. Of course you made coffee. The penthouse was quiet, the city outside stretching into late morning sun. She padded barefoot into the kitchen, still wearing Victoria's oversized shirt, and poured herself a cup. The taste was strong, bitter, familiar. Like her. She was still sipping when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. I'm outside. Don't ignore me. Emma stared at the screen, then slowly walked to the massive windows that overlooked the private lobby 4 floors below. And there she was. Jessica. Sunglasses. Expensive coat. Arms crossed, chin lifted in that signature Morgan arrogance she used when she knew she was in the wrong but refused to admit it. Emma's blood ran cold. She considered not answering. She considered calling security. But something in her, something hard and unfinished, pushed her forward. She took the elevator down, each floor heavier than the last. When the doors opened, Jessica turned, removed her sunglasses, and said, "You look good." Emma didn't answer. She didn't return the compliment. "You have 60 seconds," she said flatly. Jessica stepped forward. "I'm sorry. Not good enough." "Emma, please." "No. You don't get to beg now. You had 5 years and 1 altar to do the right thing. You chose a flight to Paris and a model who didn't even speak your language." "It was a mistake," Jessica said, voice cracking. "I panicked. I wasn't ready." "You weren't honest," Emma snapped. "That's what you weren't. You let me believe we were building a future while you were already halfway out the door." Jessica looked at her like she didn't recognize the woman in front of her. And maybe she didn't. This wasn't the Emma she'd left behind. This was someone sharper, stronger, changed. "You still love me," Jessica said quietly. "No," Emma replied. "I loved you. Past tense. Now I'm in love with someone who didn't run." The words came out before she realized she believed them. And God, she did. Even if it scared her. Even if it wasn't supposed to be this real. Jessica's eyes narrowed. "Victoria?" Emma didn't respond. She didn't need to. Jessica laughed bitterly. "You actually think she cares about you? She's using you. For power. For press. You're just another pawn in her game." "Then I guess I'm not the only one she plays well with," Emma said, stepping back toward the elevator. "Goodbye, Jessica." "Emma, wait. If you ever show up here again, I'll have security escort you out. And if you contact me another time, I'll take it as harassment." Jessica's mouth parted, stunned. "You've changed." "I had to," Emma said. "Because loving you cost me everything. But loving her? That saved me." The doors slid closed. Upstairs, Emma's hands were shaking. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But when Victoria walked in 10 minutes later, coat still on, mid-conference call, Emma walked straight to her, pulled the phone from her hand, and kissed her. Hard, desperate, real. Victoria froze, then melted into it. "What was that?" she asked, breathless. "Jessica was here," Emma whispered. "And I needed to remember who I am now." Victoria cupped her cheek. "What did she say?" "That you're using me. That I'm a pawn. And what do you believe?" "That if this is a game, I'm winning it right beside you." Victoria kissed her again, slower this time. And Emma knew. No part of this was pretend anymore. That night, Victoria didn't go back to work. She canceled meetings, turned off her phone, cooked dinner barefoot while Emma sat on the counter and told her stories from her childhood. They laughed over red wine. They kissed over burnt pasta. They made love again, not like a power play, but like a promise. Afterward, they lay together in the dark, limbs tangled, heartbeats steady. Emma turned to her. "Do you ever regret saying yes to this?" Victoria looked at her.
No.
"But I didn't say yes because I wanted revenge. I said yes because for the first time in years, I looked at someone and thought she might actually see me." "I do," Emma said. "I see you, Victoria. And if this gets messy, then we get messy together." Victoria smiled, really smiled, and Emma realized she'd never seen anything so beautiful. But even as they drifted to sleep, safe for now, the city outside continued to whisper. Headlines about power, rumors about betrayal. And in the shadows, Jessica Morgan was already planning her next move. Because she wasn't done yet. The email dropped at 9:17 a.m. sharp. No warning. No sender name. Just a subject line that read, "Do you really know who you're sleeping with?" Emma was sipping her second coffee of the day, curled up on the wide sofa in Victoria's living room, reviewing updates for the upcoming gala that Blackwood Enterprises was sponsoring. She almost didn't open it. Almost. But curiosity, the kind that had burned her before, won again. Inside the email was a single file, a press-ready PDF marked confidential in bold red letters. The first page showed a black and white photo of Victoria standing beside a bulldozer at a construction site, flanked by several men in suits. The headline read, "Victoria Blackwood and the displacement scandal they buried." Emma's blood chilled as she scrolled. Paragraph after paragraph detailed an old Blackwood project in a low-income neighborhood on the south side. Allegations. Forced evictions. Protesters silenced. There was even a quote from a community activist claiming Victoria crushed families for profit. Emma's hands trembled. She hadn't heard of any of this. And she'd spent weeks Googling everything she could about Victoria when their agreement began. Her chest tightened. Was this real? She forwarded the email to Victoria without a message. A minute later, Victoria called. Her voice was clipped. "You saw it. You knew this was coming?" "I suspected. Jessica's been trying to dig up dirt for weeks. She's been calling journalists, former employees, even my mother." "Is it true?" Emma asked softly. A pause. Then, not like that. "Yes, the project happened. Yes, there were protests. But we followed every legal protocol. What they don't say is that we funded a relocation initiative. We paid more than required. The story was twisted to sound brutal because Jessica needs a headline. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to look at me the way you're looking now." Emma flinched. "I'm not looking at you like anything. You're looking at me like you're wondering if you made a mistake." "Did I?" Another silence. Victoria exhaled slowly. "I won't beg you to believe me, Emma. But I will tell you this. I've done hard things. Ruthless things. But I've never lied to you. Not once." Emma wanted to believe her. God, she did. But trust wasn't easy for someone who had been left without warning, lied to for years, discarded like nothing. She closed her eyes. "What happens now?" "Now," Victoria said, her voice hardening. "We don't blink. The story will go live in less than 24 hours. Jessica's banking on your silence. On you walking away. But if we show up together at that gala tomorrow, hand in hand, she loses the narrative. And I promise you, I will burn down anything she builds from this." That night, Emma didn't sleep in the guest room. She slept beside Victoria, not out of comfort, but out of choice. Their bodies found each other like gravity. But afterward, in the silence, Emma turned to her and whispered, "I want to believe you." Victoria didn't touch her, didn't kiss her, just whispered back, "Then let me earn it." The next day, the scandal broke. Full spread. Photos. Accusations. Social media exploded. Hashtags. Memes. Opinions from strangers who didn't know anything beyond the headline. Emma was trending. So was Victoria. But they walked into the gala anyway. Emma wore white. Victoria wore deep crimson. A statement. A war cry. Reporters shouted questions. Protesters held signs outside the venue. But when the doors opened, all anyone saw was power. The woman who had been left at the altar and the woman who had built her empire from glass and steel, walking into the fire side by side. Inside, Emma leaned close to Victoria and said, "Do you hear that?" "What?" The silence. Victoria arched a brow. "I don't hear silence." "Exactly," Emma said. They stopped whispering. During the dinner, a journalist cornered Emma near the bar. Young. Arrogant. Holding his phone up like a weapon. "Do you think being with Victoria Blackwood compromises your morals?" he asked. "Do you stand behind what she did?" Emma didn't flinch. "I've stood behind worse. I stood behind a woman who lied to me for 5 years, who left me at the altar with a letter. I've stood behind heartbreak and humiliation and the weight of everyone's pity. But now, I stand beside someone who never promised to be perfect, only honest. And that is more than most people ever give." The journalist faltered. Emma walked away. Victoria met her near the dance floor, offering her a glass of champagne. "You didn't have to defend me." "I wasn't defending you," Emma said. "I was telling the truth." They danced slowly, not because the music called for it, but because it felt right. Their bodies aligned, their hearts in sync. And for the first time, Emma realized she wasn't angry anymore. She was alive. Later that night, in the back of the town car, Victoria took Emma's hand. "I know this isn't what you signed up for." Emma looked out the window, the city lights blurring past. "Maybe not. But maybe what I needed wasn't what I expected." "And Jessica?" "Jessica made me small. You made me dangerous." Victoria kissed her hand. "Good. Stay dangerous. I like you like this." Back at the penthouse, they didn't speak much. They just undressed each other slowly, as if peeling back armor. And afterward, tangled in sheets and truth, Emma whispered, "What if this becomes real?" Victoria kissed her temple. "It already is." But in the quiet hours of the night, Jessica Morgan watched the footage of the gala over and over again, jaw clenched, nails digging into her palm. She wasn't done. Not yet. If she couldn't have Emma back, she'd make damn sure Victoria didn't keep her either. Emma should have known the silence wouldn't last. It had been 4 days since the gala. 4 days since she had publicly, loudly, and without hesitation declared her loyalty to Victoria. The scandal had started to die down. The news cycle moved on. Investors stopped panicking. Protesters stopped showing up outside Blackwood Tower. Victoria's numbers rebounded. The world, it seemed, was ready to move on. But Jessica wasn't. The attack came not through tabloids or whispered rumors. It came through something far worse, humiliation. A video. Emma didn't know it existed. She certainly hadn't given consent. But there it was, released anonymously on a gossip blog with millions of followers, already going viral by the time she woke up. A private moment from 3 years ago. She was in a hotel room, laughing, tipsy, dressed in an oversized t-shirt. Jessica filming her with a phone. Emma's voice echoed through the speakers. "I'd marry you tomorrow if you ask." "Really?" Jessica's voice coy. "You'd throw everything away for me?" "Of course." Emma had giggled. "You're it for me, Jess. You're my whole future." Then the camera cut to black. But the damage had been done. The video came with a caption, "Does Victoria Blackwood know her fiancé begged her ex to marry her?" Emma felt the ground drop beneath her. Her phone exploded with texts. Friends. Family. Her agent. Even her estranged cousin in Oregon. She turned on the news. They were playing it on morning TV. Victoria found her in the kitchen, pale and shaking, holding a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. "I didn't know she recorded it," Emma whispered. "I don't even remember that night." Victoria's face was a mask of cold fury. "She's crossing a line. Everyone thinks I still love her. Do you?" Emma looked up, eyes blazing. "If I did, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have defended you. I wouldn't have slept in your bed. I wouldn't have kissed you like I meant it." "You still haven't said it," Victoria said softly. "Said what?" "That you're mine." Emma blinked, then set the coffee down and crossed the kitchen until she was inches from her. "I'm yours." And not because I want revenge. Not because it makes a good headline. But because for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm too much or not enough. I feel seen, chosen, safe. Victoria's expression cracked, just slightly. Then we handle this together.
How?
Emma asked. She weaponized my past. Then we give her no power in the present. The press release went out 2 hours later.
Short.
Ruthless. Written by Victoria herself. Ms. Sullivan's past is not a scandal. It is a testament to the depth with which she loves and the courage with which she moved on. She is not defined by the people who failed to love her properly. She is defined by what she built after. I stand by her, then, now, and always. The post was shared over 4 million times in 24 hours. Victoria was praised for her loyalty. Emma was flooded with support. Survivors of toxic relationships, public humiliations, and emotional betrayals rallied around her. But behind the public celebration, the private cost was heavy. That night, Emma sat curled on the couch, silent. Victoria brought her wine, sat beside her, and didn't ask questions. Just waited. Eventually, Emma whispered, "I hate that she can still reach me. That I'm still bleeding for things I thought I buried." "You don't owe anyone perfection," Victoria said. "Least of all her." "I know, but I wanted to be untouchable." "You are," Victoria said. "Not because you're flawless. Because you don't hide the cracks." Emma leaned into her shoulder. "I don't want to be afraid anymore." "Then let me help you remember how powerful you are." Victoria stood, reached out her hand. Emma took it. No words, just a pull toward the bedroom. But when they undressed, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't about distraction or anger or proving anything. It was reverent.
Healing.
Victoria kissed every inch of her like she was rewriting the story Jessica had tried to control. Emma touched her like she was anchoring herself to the present. And when they collapsed together, sweat-soaked and breathless, Emma said it without fear. "I love you." Victoria froze, then cupped her face. "Say it again." "I love you." Victoria kissed her like it was oxygen. "You make it very hard to stay cold." "Good," Emma whispered. "You're too warm to pretend otherwise." In the days that followed, Jessica tried to recover the narrative. She posted a carefully edited video of herself crying, claiming she'd been hacked, that the footage was leaked without her knowledge. No one believed her. She lost thousands of followers. Brands dropped her. The sympathy she craved twisted into contempt. But she wasn't done. Not yet. Not until she destroyed what she couldn't have. Victoria knew it. Emma felt it. And so, when they walked into a high-profile fundraiser hosted by the Chicago Arts Collective a week later, dressed in coordinated midnight blue and ivory, they held hands not just for the cameras, but for armor. Because this wasn't about image anymore. It was about survival. And what neither of them expected was that Jessica would be there too. At the bar, wearing red, waiting. As Emma and Victoria crossed the room, the crowd parted. Not because of tension, but because everyone knew this was war, and the battlefield had just been set. The room went silent as soon as Jessica turned around. The bar lights caught the glint of her earrings, the perfect sheen of her crimson dress, the practiced tilt of her chin. She looked every bit the picture of scandalous resilience, the ex-fiancé trying to reclaim her place in a room she no longer ruled. Emma felt Victoria's fingers tighten slightly around hers. Not possessive. Protective. "Stay close," Victoria murmured. "Let her speak first. She always needs to control the narrative." Jessica approached like a performance.
Slow.
Measured. Eyes locked on Emma, as if Victoria didn't exist. "You look different," she said. Stronger. Colder. "I am," Emma replied, her voice even. "You made sure of that." "I came to talk," Jessica said, ignoring the growing crowd of whispers around them. "Not fight." "Then you should have sent a letter," Victoria said flatly, her tone cool as ice. Jessica didn't blink. "You've always been good at manipulating people, Victoria. I just didn't think Emma would be one of them." "She's not being manipulated," Emma snapped. "She's being loved." which is more than you ever gave me. Jessica's smile faltered. For the first time, the mask cracked. You used to say I was the love of your life. And you used to say you'd show up, Emma replied. But here we are. She's dangerous, Emma, Jessica said, stepping closer. You don't know what she's capable of. I do, Emma said. That's why I trust her. You really think this is love? Jessica whispered. You think she doesn't have a plan? A strategy? She's building an empire on your story. Then we'll build it together, Emma said. Because, unlike you, she doesn't run when it gets hard. And she doesn't betray me to the world. Jessica looked like she wanted to scream. Her lips parted, but Victoria stepped in. Enough, she said. If you ever try to sabotage Emma again, if you so much as send another message, leak another video, or show your face where she breathes, I will bury you so deep in litigation you'll forget what sunlight feels like. Is that a threat? Jessica asked. That's a promise, Victoria replied. And I always keep mine. Emma had never seen her like this, coiled, lethal, barely restrained. The entire room watched, silent and stunned. Jessica stared at Victoria, then at Emma. You'll regret this, she said softly. No, Emma said, stepping into Victoria's side, threading her fingers through hers. I only regret ever believing you were capable of love. With that, they walked away. The tension followed them like perfume. But Emma didn't look back. Not once. In the car, she was quiet. Victoria sat beside her, fingers interlaced. Are you okay? She asked. Emma nodded. It's strange. For years, I imagined what I'd say to her if I had the chance. I thought it would feel triumphant, powerful, but it just feels done. Victoria looked at her. Closure isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a door you stop knocking on. You stopped her for me, Emma said. You didn't have to. Yes, Victoria said. I did. Back at the penthouse, the atmosphere was heavy with everything unsaid. Emma kicked off her heels, unzipped her dress, and disappeared into the bathroom. Victoria followed moments later, found her staring into the mirror, bare shoulders tense. She came up behind her, rested her hands gently on her waist. You don't owe her anything, she said. Emma met her gaze through the glass. I know. I wanted her to hurt. But now that she does, it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't erase what I went through. Victoria turned her gently until they faced each other. Then let me give you something better than revenge. She kissed her, soft, slow, reverent. Not like a possession, like a promise. They made love that night with more tenderness than heat. Every touch said, I choose you. Every breath said, you're safe now. And when Emma fell asleep in Victoria's arms, she knew the shift had happened. This wasn't pretend. This wasn't survival. It was real. The next morning, she woke to breakfast already made, a kiss pressed to her temple, and a schedule cleared for the day. You're taking a break, Victoria said. I don't need. You do. And I want to give you space to remember who you are outside of all this. Emma softened. You always act like you're made of steel, but you care more than anyone I've ever known. Don't ruin my reputation, Victoria smirked. But beneath the teasing, there was vulnerability. A kind of tenderness Emma had only started to uncover. They spent the day in pajamas, watching old movies, ignoring calls. The world outside kept spinning, headlines, gossip, backlash. But inside the penthouse, they carved out peace. Until the call came. From Victoria's assistant. You need to see this, she said. A photo. A leaked document. A forged contract linking Emma's name to an illegal offshore account. It was fake. Obviously fake. But it looked real enough to cause damage. And it had already gone viral. Jessica wasn't just attacking Emma's heart anymore. She was coming for her integrity. Her future. And for the first time since this began, Victoria stood completely still. This changes things. No, Emma said, jaw tightening. This finishes things. Because now it wasn't about the past. It was about war. And they weren't playing defense anymore. The fake contract was clean. Too clean. a perfect forgery, signed with Emma's name in cursive, linking her to an offshore account registered in the Cayman Islands. The date coincided with the week after her public engagement to Victoria, making the implication brutally clear that Emma had entered this marriage for financial gain, not love. It was a masterstroke of deception, and it was exactly what Jessica needed to drag them both into the mud. But Victoria wasn't the kind of woman who stayed in the mud. She turned it into concrete and built empires on it. "She thinks this will scare you," Victoria said, pacing in her office with a fury that was almost surgical. "She thinks if she ruins your name, I'll drop you to protect mine." Emma stood near the window, arms crossed. She had cried for 5 minutes. That was her limit now. "Let her think that," she said. "Let her believe I'm fragile. While we set fire to everything she's ever touched." Victoria stopped pacing. "We're going public. I want you beside me at the press conference. And if they don't believe us, then we give them proof." Within 12 hours, Victoria's legal team had compiled evidence that the document was fabricated. Bank logs, authentication tests, a cyber investigation showing that the leak came from a location registered to one of Jessica's shell companies. It wasn't just revenge anymore. It was a lawsuit waiting to happen. But Victoria didn't want quiet settlements. She wanted exposure. "She wants the world to think you're a gold digger," Victoria said. "So we show them what gold looks like when it's forged." Emma met her gaze. "Then let's destroy her. But on our terms." The next morning, the press conference was packed.
Cameras.
Journalists. Spectators.
Protesters. Fans.
Doubters. Victoria wore black, sleek, commanding, a storm made of silk and steel. Emma wore gray, elegant, controlled, untouchable. But when she stepped up to the microphone, her voice wasn't cold. It was fire. "3 years ago, I told a woman I loved her. That woman left me at the altar without warning, without explanation. A week ago, she leaked a video of that moment to embarrass me. And yesterday, she leaked a forged financial document to destroy what I've built since. So let me be very clear. I am not ashamed of the woman I was. I am proud of the woman I became after. And I will not let my ex or anyone else define me by a single moment of vulnerability." She paused, looked straight into the cameras. "I love Victoria Blackwood. And I will not apologize for loving someone who defends me instead of betraying me, who builds with me instead of tearing me down, who sees me for who I am, not what I can offer." The room went silent. Then Victoria stepped forward.
Calm.
"Lethal. All legal documents provided today have been verified by a third-party forensic investigator. Ms. Sullivan has been cleared of all wrongdoing. And as of this moment, Blackwood Enterprises is pursuing legal action against Jessica Morgan and her affiliates for defamation, fraud, and cyber misconduct. Let this be a message to anyone who thinks love makes a woman weak. Sometimes it makes her dangerous." The media exploded, not just with the news but with the optics. Victoria and Emma standing side by side, heads high, eyes sharp. Women who had once been framed as predator and victim now revealed as partners. Unshakable. And for the first time since the engagement began, the narrative shifted in their favor. That night, they sat in the penthouse, champagne open on the coffee table, news reports playing on mute. Emma curled into Victoria's side, bare feet tucked under her. "You didn't have to let me speak," she said. "You could have done the whole thing yourself." "It wasn't about me," Victoria replied. "It was about your voice." Emma leaned her head against her shoulder. "People are calling us a power couple now." "We are." "Do you think they're afraid of us?" "I think they should be." Emma smiled. "Good." The phone buzzed. An alert. Jessica's name. A lawsuit had officially been filed. The media was running with it. Headlines like "Morgan heiress under fire for targeting former fiancé" and "Sullivan and Blackwood strike back." But buried in the article was something more dangerous, a leaked photo of Jessica, crying, being escorted out of her office building. Sympathy was starting to shift again. Emma exhaled. "She's going to play victim now." "Let her," Victoria said. "You don't have to chase public opinion. You just have to hold your truth." But what if she drags this out? What if she wins? Then we make sure she doesn't. Victoria stood, walked to the desk, and pulled out a folder. I wasn't going to show you this yet, but now you should see it. Inside were architectural plans, a mock-up, branding drafts, logos, Sullivan and Blackwood, a real estate fund for women-led communities. Emma blinked. What is this? Our next move, Victoria said. An empire built in your name too. Not just mine. You want to start a new company? With you. Equal stake. Equal voice. Emma's throat tightened. Why? Because I love you. And because power means nothing if I'm standing on the top alone. Emma walked across the room, kissed her. Then let's build it. Together. That night, as they lay in bed, hands intertwined, bodies pressed close, Emma whispered, I feel like I've spent years surviving. But with you, I'm finally living. Then let's never survive again, Victoria whispered. Let's take the whole damn world instead. And just outside their window, the city lights flickered, not in warning, but in recognition. The world was watching. And the women who had once been underestimated were done playing small. The video leaked 2 days after the press conference.
It wasn't about Emma this time.
It was about Victoria. But not the Victoria the world knew. Not the CEO. Not the business shark. Not the ruthless Blackwood heiress who tore down competitors with a single press release. This video was personal. Intimate. Painfully raw. It was footage from 10 years ago, grainy but clear. A younger Victoria, maybe 21, in a courtroom hallway.
Crying.
Pleading with 2 stiff-faced people, her parents. You don't understand, she said in the video, her voice breaking. She's not just a phase. I love her. Her mother turned away, without speaking. Her father's voice was ice. Then consider yourself disowned. The camera caught it all, Victoria collapsing to the floor as they walked away, her body curling inward, the sound of her sobs echoing off the sterile walls. The caption that ran with the video was simple. This is the woman who claims power? She couldn't even hold her own family. Emma saw at the moment it went viral. She was in a meeting at Sullivan and Blackwood's newly leased office when her phone exploded with alerts. The silence in the room grew thick. Someone turned the screen. Emma watched the video.
Once.
Then again. Her heart shattered. She stood without a word and left the room, dialing Victoria as she walked. No answer. The third call went straight to voicemail. Where are you? She whispered into the phone. Please, come home. The penthouse was dark when she arrived.
Silent.
She found Victoria in the kitchen, back to the door, a half-empty glass of whiskey on the counter. Emma didn't speak, just walked to her slowly, gently, and touched her arm. Victoria flinched. Don't, she said, voice hollow. You shouldn't see me like this. Like what? Emma asked. Like a human being? Like someone who got left behind by her own blood. She turned to face her then, eyes red, jaw tight. I worked my whole life to build something untouchable. But it doesn't matter how powerful I get. The moment someone sees where I really come from, they look at me like I'm broken. I don't, Emma said. I look at you like someone who survived. Like someone who still learned how to love, even after being taught to hate herself. Victoria's voice cracked. I haven't spoken to them in 10 years. I buried that girl. She's still in you, Emma whispered. But she's not weak. She's the reason you became who you are. Victoria shook her head. Jessica found the footage. Must have paid someone. Dug through sealed records. She knew exactly where to hit. Then we hit back. No, Victoria said, quieter. This time we don't. We let them see it. Emma froze. Are you sure?
Yes.
Because the world needs to know that I didn't rise out of privilege. I climbed out of abandonment. And if there's one thing Jessica doesn't understand, it's that pain doesn't make me smaller. It makes me impossible to silence. The next morning, Victoria posted the video herself, with a caption that broke the internet. They disowned me. I built my own name. My strength was never about being unbroken. It was about being unafraid to show the scars. The post was shared over 6 million times in 24 hours. Celebrities, activists, LGBTQ plus leaders, survivors. Everyone rallied behind her. Interviews poured in, requests for partnerships, a documentary deal. But none of it mattered to Victoria. All she cared about was Emma. That night, she held her tighter than ever. No words, just skin on skin, warmth against cold, breaths sinking in the dark. "I'm proud of you," Emma whispered against her collarbone. "You didn't just survive them. You outlived them." "You make me want to stop hiding," Victoria replied. "Then don't," Emma said. "Not for me. Not ever again." But even as they built new foundations from the wreckage, Jessica didn't stop. She couldn't. In the weeks that followed, her lawyers filed countersuits, accused Emma and Victoria of defamation, claimed the contract video had been altered, claimed she was the one being stalked and harassed. The noise got louder. But the world was no longer listening to Jessica. They were listening to the women who stood together, hand in hand, storm after storm. Emma watched as her face appeared on magazine covers next to Victoria's. They were wrong about her, the headlines said.
She's not the girl who got left.
She's the woman who took her story back. The transformation was complete. She wasn't Jessica's ex. She wasn't Victoria's prop. She was Emma Sullivan, partner, founder, force. And when the day came that the lawsuit was thrown out of court, with a public statement labeling Jessica's claims as manipulative and intentionally defamatory, Victoria brought home a bottle of the most expensive champagne in the city. Emma didn't even wait for the cork. She pulled Victoria into her lap right there on the sofa, kissed her with a hunger that spoke months of battle. "We did it," she whispered. "Not yet," Victoria replied, grinning. "But we're close." And when Emma looked at her, flushed, victorious, adored, she realized this wasn't the end of the fight. It was just the beginning of everything they were going to build. The quiet didn't feel like silence anymore. It felt earned. After weeks of chaos, courtrooms, headlines, betrayal, and fire, the city finally felt like it was exhaling with them. Emma stood barefoot on the penthouse balcony, arms resting on the cold steel railing, hair loose and windswept. Below, Chicago shimmered like a sea of glass, and for the first time in a long time, she wasn't thinking about Jessica. She wasn't thinking about headlines or contracts, or what the world expected her to be. She was thinking about Victoria, and what it meant to love someone not because you needed to, but because you couldn't imagine surviving without them. Behind her, Victoria moved through the apartment with uncharacteristic ease, barefoot, hair slightly damp from the shower, wearing one of Emma's oversized university sweatshirts instead of her usual designer armor. There was music playing softly in the background, a vintage jazz record they'd found together in a dusty downtown store and bought without thinking. Emma turned as Victoria joined her, 2 mugs in hand, one of them already exactly how Emma liked it. 2 sugars, splash of oat milk, nothing too fancy. "Still warm," Victoria said, pressing it into her hands. "Just like you like it." Emma smiled, but her eyes were still distant. Victoria noticed immediately. "What's going on in that terrifyingly strategic brain of yours?" Emma stared into the mug for a second, then looked up. "Do you remember when all of this started? The night you walked into my office like you were on fire and told me you wanted revenge?" "Yeah," Emma said, with a half-laugh. "I wasn't in love with you then." "I know. And you didn't trust me." "Still don't some days," Victoria teased. "Especially when you use my toothbrush." Emma nudged her with her shoulder, then went quiet again. "I've been thinking about that version of us. The fake one. The arrangement. The script. We were good at pretending," Victoria said. "Too good." Emma turned fully to her. "But we stopped pretending, didn't we?" "We did. So, let's stop pretending we still need to keep calling this a contract marriage." Victoria's brow furrowed. "What are you saying?" Emma set her mug down, stepped closer. "I'm saying I want to marry you. For real. Not for revenge. Not for press. Not because we have to." Victoria froze. The words hit her like a slow breaking wave. Emma kept going. I want a ceremony with no press release. No press, period. I want to wear something soft. I want you in something black because God forbid you show up in anything else. I want to write vows that make you roll your eyes and then cry 5 seconds later. I want to walk toward you and know I'm not walking away from anything. I'm walking toward the rest of my life. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it, swallowed hard. Emma, you don't have to say yes now, Emma added quickly. I needed to say it. I needed you to know that even if everything fell apart tomorrow, the lawsuits, the companies, the money, I would still choose you. Every time. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was full, thick with everything they weren't saying and everything they already had. Victoria stepped forward, reached into the pocket of the sweatshirt and pulled something out. A velvet box. Emma stared. You've got to be kidding me. I was going to wait until next week, Victoria said softly. I had this whole dinner planned. A boat. Candles. Ridiculous flower arrangements that would have made you cry or vomit or both. You were going to propose? Emma, Victoria said, stepping close, taking her hand. I'm always going to propose. Even after we're married. Every day. 1,000 ways.
But yes.
I bought this ring the day after you defended me in front of the press. Because that was the moment I realized I would never find another person who could love both my power and my pain. She opened the box. A single ring. Elegant. Sharp. Nothing over the top. Just real.
Just them.
I don't have a speech, Victoria whispered. Because you already said everything I feel. But if you'll have me, if you want the kind of forever where we're constantly interrupting meetings to kiss and yelling at each other over who forgot to restock the wine fridge, then yes. I want to be yours. No contract. No angle. Just mine and yours. Emma's hands were shaking. Put it on. Victoria slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. And then they were kissing, hard and slow and deep, the kind of kiss that erases every bad thing that came before it and rewrites the future in breath and heartbeat. We're really doing this, Emma whispered. We're going to be wives. You're already mine, Victoria said. Now we just make it official. That night, they lay in bed, tangled in sheets and promises. Emma rested her head on Victoria's chest, listening to the steady beat beneath her ear. Do you think they'll ever leave us alone? No, Victoria said. But I don't care anymore. Let them watch. Let them talk. They don't get to touch what we have. What if we fall apart? Then we fall together, Victoria said. And we get back up the same way. Outside, the city kept spinning. Somewhere out there, Jessica was still bitter, still plotting, still licking her wounds. But for once, none of that mattered. Because in this room, with nothing but their breath and bodies and quiet vows between them, Emma and Victoria had finally found something bigger than revenge, bigger than power, bigger than the noise. They'd found home. The wedding was set for 6 weeks away. Not for spectacle, not for press, not for revenge. Just them. Simple, elegant, private. Only 40 guests. No corporate sponsors, no photographers, no publications allowed. Victoria wanted a rooftop in Manhattan. Emma wanted a lakeside in Michigan. They compromised on a private estate in upstate New York with views that stretched into forever. The kind of place where promises felt safe. Planning should have been easy. They had the money, the taste, the power. But Emma learned quickly that weddings were never just about two people. They were about history, about ghosts, about every unresolved fracture that refused to stay buried. It started with the guest list. What about your parents? Victoria asked one night, curled beside her in bed with a glass of wine, both of them reviewing notes from the planner on a shared tablet. Emma went quiet. They haven't called since the first wedding fell through. You think they're embarrassed?
No.
I think they're disappointed I didn't marry into the right kind of power. Then maybe they don't deserve a seat at this table. Still, Emma said, quieter. It hurts. Victoria kissed her temple. You're allowed to grieve people who are still alive. What about yours? Emma asked. Victoria tensed. You really want to go there? Emma nodded.
Yes.
I do. They haven't spoken to me in a decade. They won't come. Would you want them to? No, Victoria said. Then after a beat. But I think the little girl inside me still wonders what it would feel like to have a mother watch me say, I do, and be proud. Emma took her hand, held it tight. I'll be there. And I'll be proud enough for both of them. The next hurdle came in the form of press intrusion. Despite all their efforts for privacy, someone leaked the venue location. By the end of the week, drones were flying over the estate, and tabloids ran stories about Chicago's Ice Queen and the scorned bride who conquered her. Emma was furious. We can't even have one day that belongs to us? Victoria was calm, but beneath the surface, the fury was quiet and cold. I'll handle it. And she did. By morning, Blackwood's legal team had served cease and desist letters to every outlet within range. Lawsuits were threatened. Fines were issued. And within 48 hours, the air was clear again. Emma stared at her fiancé in awe. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Too late, Victoria smirked. You used my razor without asking. I'm just tolerating you at this point. They laughed, but the tension still lingered. The pressure of making everything perfect, of trying to reclaim something sacred from a past filled with betrayal, weighed heavy. The night before the wedding planner's final walkthrough, Emma couldn't sleep. She slipped out of bed and went to the balcony, wrapped in nothing but a silk robe and silence. Minutes later, Victoria joined her. You're not having second thoughts, are you? No, Emma said instantly.
God, no.
I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Then what is it? Emma turned to her, eyes tired but open. What if it happens again? What if I get left again? I'm not her, Victoria said, stepping closer. And this isn't that. But what if something goes wrong? What if I'm standing there, waiting, and you, Emma? Victoria's voice was firm. I'm going to be there. Not because I have to be. Not because it benefits me. But because there is nowhere on earth I'd rather be than watching you walk down that aisle, knowing I get to be yours. Forever. Emma swallowed hard. Even when I'm difficult? Especially then. Even when I don't believe in myself? I'll believe enough for both of us. Even when I feel like I'm still that broken girl in a white dress waiting for someone who never shows. Victoria touched her face. You're not that girl anymore. You're the woman who got back up. Who faced the world and said, watch me build everything they said I couldn't have. And you. I'm the woman who gets to stand beside her. The lucky one. Emma leaned into her, forehead against hers. God, I love you. Good. Because you're stuck with me. The next morning, they flew to the estate early, wanting to settle in before the final preparations. Everything was perfect. The florals, the table settings, the soft lighting, the private lake shimmering in the background like something out of a fairy tale. But as they walked the grounds hand in hand, a car pulled up to the edge of the property. Uninvited. Emma's breath caught. Jessica stepped out. Alone. Unarmed. Wearing black. Victoria's entire body tensed. What the hell is she doing here? Emma stepped forward before Victoria could.
No.
I'll handle this. She walked until she stood face to face with her past. You weren't invited. Jessica looked thinner. Tired. But not apologetic. I know. Then why are you here? I needed to see it. I needed to know it's real. That you actually chose her. I did, Emma said. And I'd choose her again 1,000 times over. I'm sorry, Jessica said, voice barely above a whisper. I know it means nothing now. But I am. It's too late. I know. A long pause. Then, she really loves you. I know, Emma said. And the difference is she's never made me doubt it. Jessica nodded once. Good luck tomorrow. She turned, got back into the car, and drove off. Emma stood there for a long moment before turning around. Victoria was watching her from the distance, unreadable. Emma walked straight to her, took her hand. It's done, she said. All of it. She came to rattle you. She failed. You okay? I'm perfect, Emma said. Because tomorrow, I get to marry the only person who's ever made me feel like I'm more than just a headline or a lesson. Victoria didn't respond, just pulled her into her arms and held her there, the wind tangling through their hair, the lake glinting behind them like a promise. Tomorrow, they would walk toward each other. Not for business. Not for image. But for love. For real. And nothing, not Jessica, not the past, not the noise, could stop that now. The morning arrived quietly. No media vans, no chaos, no headlines. Just birdsong, soft wind, and a sky so blue it felt like forgiveness. Emma woke first. She didn't open her eyes immediately. She just lay there, breathing in the warmth of Victoria's body beside hers, the scent of skin and linen and lavender shampoo. The world outside had been loud for so long, but in this bed, wrapped in silence and sunlight, it felt like she had finally outrun it. When she did open her eyes, Victoria was watching her. "You're awake," she whispered. "You're staring," Emma replied. "You're beautiful." Emma rolled her eyes, but her heart was already aching in that quiet, full way. "Are you nervous?" "No," Victoria said. "I was nervous before the board meetings, the scandals, the lawyers. But not now." "Why?" "Because I know I'm making the best decision of my life." They stayed like that a while, just existing, fingers tangled between sheets, words no longer needed. By the time the wedding planner knocked gently on the door, the estate was already buzzing with motion. Florists arranging the final touches. Musicians tuning strings. Kitchen staff preparing hors d'oeuvres no one would remember. Emma and Victoria had agreed to get ready in separate rooms, but neither moved. 5 more minutes, Victoria whispered, holding Emma a little tighter. 5 more. 5 forever. Eventually, they parted, reluctantly, and slipped into their respective spaces. Emma's dress wasn't traditional. It was silk, ivory, off the shoulder, fitted to perfection. No veil. No lace. Just elegance. She stood in front of the mirror and tried to recognize herself. Not the woman who had been left at the altar. Not the viral ex. Not the scandal. Just Emma. Whole. She heard a knock. It was Lily, Victoria's assistant, and now almost a friend. "She's ready," she said softly. "Are you?" "More than I've ever been." The ceremony was held in the garden overlooking the lake. No platform. No stage. Just a stone path through archways of white roses and pale eucalyptus, leading to a clearing framed by trees. The 40 guests rose as Emma appeared. She walked slowly, heart thudding, eyes locked on the woman waiting at the end of the aisle. Victoria stood in tailored black, hair slicked back, eyes glassy with something raw.
Love. Awe.
Fear, even the good kind. The kind that comes when everything you've ever wanted finally becomes real. Emma didn't look at the crowd. She didn't care who was there. All she saw was Victoria. All she heard was her own heartbeat. All she felt was gravity. When she reached her, Victoria took her hand. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The officiant said the words, but they barely registered. Not until it was time for vows. "Emma," Victoria began, voice quiet but steady, "I once thought I had to be cold to survive. That love was a luxury for people less bruised than me. Then you walked into my life, furious, wild, wrecked, and you reminded me that vulnerability is not weakness. It's power. You taught me how to be soft without breaking, how to trust again. You didn't just heal me, you saw me. And for the rest of my life, I will never stop seeing you back." Emma's throat tightened, but she didn't look away. "Victoria," she said, "I thought I knew what love looked like. I thought it was something you had to earn, something that came with conditions. But you showed me that love is not a transaction. It's not performance. It's presence. You never tried to fix me. You just stood beside me until I remembered how to stand for myself. You are my clarity in chaos, my warmth in winter, my partner in every storm. And I vow, here, now, always, to love you not perfectly, but fiercely." There were tears. No one pretended otherwise. When the rings were exchanged, their hands trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of what they were promising. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your wife," they didn't hesitate. It was soft, slow,
Deep.
not performative, not rushed, just real. The kiss of two people who had been through hell and chose to build heaven. The applause was distant, the cheers irrelevant, because for that one suspended moment, there was no one else in the world. Just them. When they walked back down the aisle, hand in hand, both barefoot now, because heels were for show, and this was no longer a show, Emma leaned into Victoria and whispered, "We made it." "We're just getting started," Victoria replied. The reception was candlelight and laughter, soft music and honest speeches. There were toasts from Lily, from one of Emma's old college friends, even from Victoria's head of security, who'd once sworn she was incapable of affection. "Turns out," he said, raising a glass, "she just needed the right woman." Emma and Victoria didn't disappear after the first dance. They stayed.
Talked. Danced.
Ate cake with their hands. Kissed whenever they felt like it, not because it looked good, but because it felt good. By the time the guests left and the stars stretched overhead, Emma stood barefoot in the grass, staring up at the sky. Victoria came up behind her, wrapped arms around her waist. "Mrs. Blackwood," she said. "Mrs. Sullivan Blackwood," Emma corrected. "You took my name?" "I took both of ours," Emma said, "because we built this together. And I want the world to remember that." Victoria kissed her neck. "You are full of surprises."
Good.
"Because I'm not done surprising you." They walked back into the house hand in hand, tired but glowing. No headlines. No scandals. No scripts. Just love. At last. The day after the wedding, the world was still quiet. The headlines, surprisingly respectful. "The Queens of Reinvention," one article read. "Emma and Victoria say I do on their own terms," another. Photos had leaked, not from hired media, but from guests who couldn't resist sharing soft, grainy glimpses of candlelight vows and barefoot laughter. Instead of scandal, the public responded with admiration. Not because the ceremony was lavish, but because it wasn't. Because it felt like love. Real. Unfiltered. Untouchable. Emma and Victoria spent their first married morning on the porch of the estate, drinking coffee in matching robes, legs tangled under a shared blanket. No meetings. No legal calls. Just the rustle of trees and the occasional buzz of Victoria's phone, which she ignored with a smirk. "We're married," Emma whispered, as if saying it aloud would make it more real. "We are," Victoria replied. "And I haven't had a panic attack in at least 12 hours. It's a record." "You mean you're finally at peace?"
No.
"I mean you've made me reckless. I've officially abandoned my inbox." "Scandalous," Emma teased. "You'll be bankrupt by Tuesday." "At least I'll be bankrupt in a robe with my wife on my lap." They kissed lazily, without urgency. The kind of kiss that comes after fire, when the flame has settled into embers and warmth. That afternoon, they returned to the city. A quiet entrance, no press. The penthouse hadn't changed, but somehow everything felt different. The rooms weren't just hers or Emma's anymore. They were theirs. Victoria didn't just remove her watch and shoes. She took off the weight of years. And Emma, she glowed in a way that was entirely new, not because she was in love, but because, for the first time, she felt chosen. The following week, life returned.
Slowly.
Reluctantly. But it returned. Board meetings resumed. Press requests piled up. Invitations to galas, summits, magazine covers. But one message, one name, stood out. A private email. From Yvette Dubois, the European real estate mogul with operations in Paris, Berlin, Dubai. She'd followed their story. Admired their strategy. And she had a proposition, a joint expansion, a global merger. Sullivan and Blackwood International. The offer was massive, risky, revolutionary. Emma stared at the proposal on her tablet while Victoria poured wine. "This could change everything," Emma said. "It would change everything," Victoria replied. "You'd be traveling nonstop. Half our operations would move overseas. We'd have to rebrand, hire new teams, redesign everything." Emma looked up. "And you hate change." I hate instability. But this might be growth. Do you want it? Victoria hesitated. I don't know. Do you? Emma looked back at the screen. The numbers were undeniable. The prestige. The potential. But so was the pressure. The distance. The sacrifice. We just got married, she said softly. Are we really ready to stretch ourselves across oceans? Only if we stretch together. They sat with it. For hours. No decisions. Just silence. Thought. Hands brushing over glass and paper and skin. That night, as Emma showered, Victoria stepped into her office for a call. What she didn't expect was a message waiting. Anonymous number. Just one line. You can build new things, Victoria. But your past doesn't stay buried forever. Attached, a photo.
Blurry.
But unmistakable. A woman.
Pale skin.
Dark eyes. Standing in the background of their wedding. Not on the guest list. Not part of the staff. Just watching. Victoria's chest tightened. She hadn't seen that face in 10 years. Not since law school. Not since the affair that nearly cost her everything. Not since the woman who knew her worst mistakes and wasn't afraid to use them. Victoria deleted the message. Locked her phone. But she couldn't lock the memory. Later, in bed, Emma curled into her without question. You're quiet, she murmured. Just tired, Victoria lied. Long day. We don't have to decide about the merger now. I know. We'll do what's right. For us. Victoria nodded, kissed her forehead, tried to sleep, but in the dark, the message haunted her. Because if the woman in the photo had found her again, it meant trouble. Not just for the company, but for the marriage. And she didn't know if she could survive hurting Emma. Not now. Not ever. The storm didn't announce itself. It didn't arrive with thunder or lightning. It crept in through cracks, quiet, precise, intentional. It began with a letter. No signature. No return address. Just a crisp envelope left on the concierge desk at Blackwood Tower, hand-delivered, marked only with for Victoria. Victoria recognized the handwriting immediately. Her hands trembled as she opened it. I told you I wouldn't stay buried.
We both know how this ends.
Meet me. Or I meet her. There was an address.
A time.
No threat. But Victoria had known Cassandra Tate too long to misread silence. She folded the letter, slid it into her blazer, and didn't breathe again until she was in her car, windows tinted, fingers gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Cassandra hadn't just been a mistake. She had been a weapon. 10 years ago, during law school, Victoria had fallen for her brilliance, her fire, her sharp tongue, and sharper mind. But what started as passion had turned quickly into control, manipulation disguised as intensity. Cassandra broke her confidence, her career, nearly destroyed her reputation with fabricated accusations after Victoria ended things. It had taken years, therapy, and the careful rebuilding of her image to erase the shadow Cassandra left. And now she was back. Emma had no idea. And Victoria wasn't ready to break the world they'd just begun building. The meeting place was discreet, a dimly lit cafe near the river, long since closed for the season. Victoria arrived first, heart thudding, palms damp. When Cassandra entered, nothing had changed about her, still impeccable, still cold, still beautiful in that dangerous way. You look older, Cassandra said, sitting across from her. Marriage suits you. Or maybe it just makes your lies easier to swallow. What do you want? Victoria asked flatly. Closure. You burned that bridge a long time ago. Did I? Cassandra smirked. Because I have emails.
From you.
I have recordings. I have details that the world would love to hear. Especially your new wife. Does she know what you did to keep your name clean? You lied, Victoria said. You manipulated, you threatened, you tried to ruin me when I left. Prove it. The smile never reached her eyes. You think the world cares about truth, Victoria? It cares about narratives. And mine is very compelling. Victoria felt her throat tighten. You're bluffing. Try me, Cassandra said, standing. You have 48 hours. Tell your precious Emma, who you really are, or I will." Then she was gone, like a ghost, leaving only poison behind. Victoria didn't go home that night. She drove. For hours. Aimless. Her thoughts crashing. She thought about the company, the expansion, the merger with Yvette Dubois. She thought about Emma's smile, the way she'd said, "I do," with trembling lips and fierce eyes. And now it might all shatter. When she returned to the penthouse, Emma was waiting. "Where were you?" she asked, soft but firm. "You didn't answer your phone." "I had meetings," Victoria lied. Something came up. Emma didn't press, but her eyes narrowed. "Are you okay?" "Just tired." "Come to bed." But Victoria couldn't sleep. And the next morning, the silence grew. Over coffee. Over board briefings. Over the emails piling up from Yvette, asking for updates on the merger decision. Emma finally snapped. "Victoria."
"Talk to me."
"Something's wrong." Victoria opened her mouth. Closed it. She couldn't. Not yet. Not like this. "I just need time," she said. Emma stepped back. "You said we'd never lie to each other." "This isn't a lie." "Then why does it feel like one?" Victoria reached for her. Emma flinched. And in that moment, something cracked. Not fully. Not broken. But enough. The next morning, Emma received a message. A video. Anonymous. Cassandra's voice. Her face obscured. "You don't know who you married. Ask her what she did in 2016. Ask her what she covered up." Emma watched the video alone in the office. Her pulse raced. Her stomach twisted. And then she printed it and went home. Victoria was in the living room, pouring a drink she hadn't touched in months. Emma dropped the envelope on the table. "What happened in 2016? Victoria turned. Stilled. Their eyes met. "Where did you get that?" "It doesn't matter." "Emma, tell me the truth." Silence. "Then, I was with someone. Before. It was toxic. Controlling. She tried to ruin me when I left. She falsified claims. Went to the media. I had to fight to keep my license. To protect the company." "Did you pay her off?" Emma asked. "Did you hide it?" "I did what I had to do to survive." "You said no more lies." "It wasn't a lie. It was a survival tactic." "You should have told me." "I was scared," Victoria whispered. "Scared you'd see me as broken. Or worse, corrupt." Emma stepped back, chest heaving. "You're not corrupt. But you are a coward." That hit harder than a slap. Victoria sat down slowly. "I didn't want to lose you. Then you should have trusted me with the truth." Emma left the room. Packed a bag. Just one. No theatrics. No slammed doors. "I need space," she said at the door. "I love you, but I don't know how to trust you right now." And then she was gone. Victoria sat in the dark, the silence louder than any storm. The woman she had built an empire beside. The woman she married with a vow and a trembling hand.
Gone.
Not because of a scandal, but because of fear. Her own. And fear, she realized too late, was more dangerous than betrayal. Victoria hadn't cried in over a decade. Not during her disownment. Not during lawsuits or boardroom betrayals. Not even the night she almost lost everything. But the first night Emma didn't come home, something inside her cracked. And the second night, it broke. The penthouse felt too big without her. Every room echoing with silence. Every corner holding a memory. The hallway where Emma used to drop her heels with a sigh. The kitchen where she made the worst coffee Victoria ever drank. The balcony where she whispered, "I love you," like it was gospel.
Gone.
All of it. Victoria didn't sleep. Didn't eat. She sat at the edge of the bed they once shared and stared at the ring on her finger, unmoving. By day 3, Lily entered the penthouse with food and a list of rescheduled meetings. "She still hasn't returned your calls?" "No." "Then stop waiting for permission," Lily said. "Go earn your forgiveness." Victoria blinked slowly. She deserves better than a performance. Then don't give her one. Give her the truth. That night, Victoria wrote a letter. Not a speech. Not a statement. A confession. She wrote until the sun came up. Every secret, every wound, every cowardly choice. Then she folded the pages, sealed them, and left them at the front desk of the hotel Emma had checked into. No name, no expectations, just hope. Emma opened it 2 hours later. She sat on the floor of her hotel room and read it once, then again, and again. And by the fourth reading, her hands were shaking. Because it wasn't just a letter. It was a reckoning. Victoria hadn't tried to excuse what happened. She'd explained it. With raw honesty. With trembling accountability. And at the very end, she'd written, I built my entire world to feel unshakable. But losing you? That undid me more than anything ever could. If you never come back, I'll understand. But if you do, know that I will spend the rest of my life earning your trust, your laughter, and the chance to be better. Not just for you, but for us. Emma stared at the signature. Yours still, Victoria. That night, Emma went back to the penthouse. Victoria wasn't home. She was at Cassandra's apartment. Alone. Ready. She walked in without knocking. Cassandra was already waiting. Finally, she said, swirling wine in a glass. Come to negotiate your soul? I came to end this, Victoria said. You've done your damage. You got between us. Are you satisfied? No, Cassandra replied. Because I wanted you to break. And you're still standing. You don't have that power anymore. Don't I? No, Victoria said, stepping forward. Because the woman I love knows everything. And she still might walk away. But she'll do it with the truth in her hands. Not your poison. Cassandra's smile faded. You think you're invincible. No, Victoria said. I'm just not afraid of you anymore. She left without another word. And for the first time in years, Cassandra didn't follow. When Victoria returned home, Emma was on the couch. No lights. Just moonlight through the window, casting shadows across her face. You went to her? She asked. Victoria nodded. I told her the truth. I told her she doesn't get to touch what we built. Emma stood, walked slowly toward her. And what did we build, Victoria? Was it all ambition? A weapon? No, Victoria said softly. It started that way, but it became real. Somewhere between the coffee and bed, and you defending me at a press conference. Somewhere between your laugh in Paris and the way you held my hand in court. I fell in love with you, not because I had something to gain, but because loving you was the first thing that made me feel human again. Emma stared at her for a long time. I was afraid you'd leave, Victoria whispered. That if I told you everything, you'd walk out and I'd never recover. You were wrong, Emma said. I didn't walk away because of your past. I walked away because you didn't let me walk into it with you. I know. And I'm not coming back because you begged, Emma said. I'm coming back because you finally let me see you. She took a deep breath. And I still love what I see. Victoria's eyes filled, not with panic, but with gratitude so overwhelming she couldn't speak. Emma stepped closer, touched her cheek. We'll build trust again, brick by brick. But I'm not running, and you're not alone anymore. Are you sure? Victoria asked, voice cracking. I'm sure, Emma said, because you're mine, and I'm yours, even when it's hard, especially then. They kissed like it was the first time, not because it was perfect, but because it was earned. And when Victoria held her again, it wasn't desperate. It was steady.
Real.
The next morning, they called Yvette, said yes to the international expansion. Together, as a team, they hired new executives, created a mentorship program for queer women in business, donated a portion of the profits to survivors of domestic abuse, Victoria's idea. They didn't run from their pasts. They built a new future atop them. It wasn't easy. They had fights. Hard ones. Nights where Emma needed space and Victoria needed reassurance. But they always found their way back. Again and again. Because that's what love is. Not perfect, but persistent. 1 year later, on their first anniversary, Emma surprised Victoria with a key. What's this? A villa in Tuscany, Emma said. For the quiet. For us. You bought a house in Italy? No, Emma said. We did. Sullivan Blackwood now has an office in Milan. But this place is just for love. They moved in by summer, drank wine barefoot, cooked terribly, wrote new vows by candlelight. And on one particularly perfect night, as the sun dipped behind olive trees and the air turned to gold, Victoria pulled Emma into her lap and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Emma kissed her. "Thank you for becoming someone worth fighting for." And that was how their story ended. Not in scandal, not in abandonment, but in quiet strength, in laughter, in love that refused to die, even when tested. They had been enemies. They had been partners. But above all else, they became what neither had ever dared hope for: home. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.